Here we go with another Extra Bases. Jason Bristol and Jeremy Booth in studio with our semi-regular baseball show that airs on KHOU 11+.
I don't know about the semi-regular. It's been pretty regular. You know, we just front load at times.
we do front load.
We take a week off and we got to bounce around and you know, we're both in studio in Houston now and no, I think we've been doing a lot more. You know, we got to keep it consistent.
I want to start with this. What you told me this morning, which really surprised me.
I don't know what I said. I was half asleep.
It happened. It had a lot to do with the World Baseball Classic. Do you remember what you said to me?
No.
About the World Series versus the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah.
What did you say to me?
I said it's more impressive than playoff baseball, World Series baseball. It's
the intensity. There's more intensity.
Best environment in the game, bar none. I was talking to Paul Seiler yesterday with USA Baseball, and I said the same thing to him. And you know, Michael Hill, same thing. It's the best environment. One thing about this, which is really fortunate for me, is that I have a lot of people just from time in the game that I've run across, whether it's through, you know, scouting or the pro world or Future Stars series. We're all kind of intertwined here. And being able to talk to, you know, Tanner Swanson and Connor Brooks yesterday with Great Britain, or Jerron Sands and Albert Cartwright, or you know, the USA guys and you know, C. Bregman and some of the guys that we got familiarity with. You know, look, the reality is that even a former teammate, Jack Santora, is coaching for Italy. You know, you start looking at what we've got and the environment that's here, and it is every bit as grueling and grinding and intense as postseason baseball, if not more. And I say that from a World Series perspective because obviously we've covered a bunch of them now. In the media world, in the World Series, you're back at your room at like 2:00 in the morning, you know, and you're up at whatever time you decide to get out of bed because the whole day is upside down, and you do it again. It's just like when you're playing or just like when you're working as a scout. So it's a grind on top of a grind in a very positive way. I wouldn't rather do anything else. It's awesome, but it's felt so intense. The ball Schwarber hit last night. I think it's still going. Like the only thing that stopped it was that there happened to be a seat there. You know what I mean? He hit this thing so far that I lost sight of it, and I was like, man, my jaw dropped. And we've seen Schwarber hit balls a lot. That ball was absolutely laid into. So it felt pretty good to watch that. It was a very quick reminder and step forward into. It is a quick reminder to step forward into what baseball is like. Here we are. But yeah, man, it's every bit as exhausting and adrenaline pumped as World Series, if not more.
What about games like, say, Brazil and Italy? Or we went to Mexico and Great Britain.
Right.
Are you still feeling that intensity?
I think what surprised me, well, yes, but what surprised me is that, like, when USA played Brazil, I thought it was going to be, and I'm sorry to say this, Brazil, an absolute blowout early, and it was not that. And when we saw Mexico and
Great Britain,
you know, we're thinking Mexico's going to blow them out, and it's 1-1 in the eighth. You know what I mean? I think those are the type of things you look for, where it's the intensity and the overachieving. And there's been some surprises, man. There's been Joseph Contreras, who I saw in the summer, like almost all the rest of the baseball world saw in the summer, who came out and broke Judge's bat and did a really good job as a 17-year-old high school senior. And then there's the kid last night for Great Britain and the Angels A-ball guy. And you're like, what? You know, he goes right through Judge and Harper, and I think Gunnar Henderson, right? And he mows him down in order. And it's wow, man, that kid's pretty good. That's a pretty good arm. And I'm talking to a couple of the scouts here. Tommy Allison is here from the Dodgers. I worked with him with Seattle. He's an old Brewer guy, so old Jackson Forensic tree. I looked at TA and I go, kid's got a good arm. He goes, shoo. You know, so I mean, look, it's one of those things where you it's really easy to see the big tools and guys are having a chance to separate themselves, but man, every bit as intense, if not more than the World Series. I was that much exhausted when it was over as I am when we're doing the World Series and at whatever city, getting back to the hotel to get up the next day. I was exhausted.
That was Victor, by the way.
Yeah. Who'd I say?
No. You didn't give a name, so I was just.
What's his first name again? Nance?
Nazier?
Yeah, no, it was
Nazier.
It was electric. And then with Gunnar Henderson, he was talking a little bit, and you can do it on this stage. And even Gunnar was looking out there like, "Really, bro? Really?" You know. But you can do it on this stage. It was. Scrubble did the same thing to Jazz Chisholm. Did you happen to see that yesterday? He struck out Jazz Chisholm and gave him the go away sign. And it's like, Chisholm just laughed at us. WBC, here we go.
Do you have a different feeling on some of these players like Victor, like Manny Ramirez's kid, based on the small sample size that we've seen thus far?
Well, the pitching's different because pitching can show up night in, night out. Hitting is it's feast or famine lots of times. You get a guy like Victor, who is 97, 98. He's got a feel for a breaking ball to protect the fastball, and he shows you the ability to get enough around the zone where three very accomplished, if not some of the best hitters in the last 10 years. Hunter Henderson, obviously much newer on the scene than the other two, but he gets in there and he's fearless. And he attacks them and he gets them off the fastball. Because if he's just throwing a fastball and it's 98, those guys can time a Learjet, man. They're not trying to Gulfstream. They're not trying to worry about that. But he's able to protect it and move that stuff around a little bit. And that part is absolutely like, hey, Anaheim, what are you doing? Like, because we're talking about Los Angeles Angels, Anaheim still, right? This is still Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. This is not the Toronto Blue Jays.
I think it's just the Los Angeles Angels, but
they're always the Anaheim Angels to me. Okay. And they should be the California Angels while we're at it. But we'll go back to Los Angeles Angels. We're still talking about that group that needs help. And this guy's buried in A-ball, wasn't in camp. What'd I miss? They got 14 better than that. We've seen what they've run out. Angels. You got 14 better than that. And Raymond's still over there. Raymond's still over there. Yee. It's pretty good stuff, boy. Yes, that goes up the board. Now Ramirez's kid, yeah, yeah.
Is he better than maybe you thought?
Yeah, it's hard to say no. He is, but hitters you need more bats. You need more time with hitters, see how they adjust. Guys can have one good night. Now it's in there, but whether or not it's going to consistently show up to be a productive major league hitter, we'll have to see.
Najer Victor.
Yeah, it was nasty Victor. It was unbelievable.
Interesting. A product of Florida Gulf Coast.
Oh.
And UCF. And this goes back to some of the things that we hear about players from the Northeast and the cold. I mean, he's from Philadelphia. So, there's a guy that
Late developing.
Yeah, late developing.
Oh. Is he better than some of the guys that may have developed sooner? I would argue yes. What round he going?
What round did he go in?
Central Florida. It's Junior Vizcaíno's backyard.
I don't have it in front of me.
No, a special assignment with the Angels. He's here too.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this player. Victor went in the 14th round.
Whoa, what draft did he go? What draft?
2024.
Is that when Rowdy went? Rowdy was 23. So, okay, 2024. That's what. Yeah. Oh, wow. Angels doing a good job late in the draft. Got Rowdy Rodriguez and Nasty Victor.
I don't know if you know this name, Dante Nori.
Yeah, I know Dante Nori.
I think Dante Nori. Listen, again, it's a small sample size, but I was really impressed with what I saw. The one thing that I've really noticed about this is some of these smaller teams, once you get past maybe their first 4 pitchers, then there's quite a bit of drop-off, and that is where obviously depth comes into play with teams like the Dominican and the U.S. and Mexico. But still, at 21 years old, and he's made Double-A, and he hits, man, and he's got a really good eye at the plate. Last year in the Florida State League, 70 strikeouts, 75 strikeouts, 66 walks. His first year, total 75 walks, 85 strikeouts between 3 teams, and he is the youngest player in the league by 1 or 2 years, and he ends up batting .261, OPS of .732, 52 stolen bases, 18 doubles, 12 triples, 4 homers. Like, that's a Rusty Greer to me.
Yeah, look, Dante Nori could always hit. I thought he was older than that. What draft was he? 24?
Well, he was older as a high school player. I think he was 19.
Yeah, and so the jury's
he was drafted in the first round, 27th overall.
I remember the Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the jury's out for me. on guys who are that old when they hit, they just are.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a guy that's going to be 19 at the draft, RJ Cope, good buddy, good kid we've had, great family, believe in him. But he has to have a faster acceleration path. He just has to. You're 19 years old when you hit the door, man. You got to get moving. So
That's what this kid's showing.
yeah, okay. I mean, we'll see. He's going to have to go back to Double A. I'm not killing him, but older high school kids, the jury's out a little bit.
Okay.
Now, RJ's a pitcher.
Yeah.
Okay. RJ will tell he's a two-way guy.
Yeah.
For me, he's David Price when he locks in on it. And again, that's a different runway, right? But when it comes to what Dante Nori is doing, not taking anything away from him, this is definitely the place to impress. It's definitely a time to be here. And for those of you that are watching or listening and being part of what we do, I'm gonna tell you something. The scouting community, as far as who is in the building, all 30 clubs are not here, which is I don't want to say baffling, but I'll say that when I think about the amateur expectations of, hey, there's got to be 900 scouts here, or the event sucks, right? Or there's 15 guys here
at the World Baseball Classic,
WBC, maybe 16 because there's more coming in. There's a couple guys from Japan that are scouting. And they're all the guys that can look at a player and say yes to that guy. We have this in our system. That's how much we do it. This is what we trade for him. This is where you'd slot him. It's not just pro scouting. It's guys who've been pro scouting directors, international directors, assistant general managers, GMs. Okay, guys, a couple guys. Terry Wetzel, remember Terry Wetzel? I'll say that he's here. If you don't get a better scout than Terry Wetzel. And the fact that he even knew my name, let alone bought my book, I'm telling you straight up, I was like, wow, really? He goes, yeah, I said, yeah, I signed it for you. Wait a minute, thank you for doing that. It's tight into the game, man. These guys are in here, and that's who's here. Is guys can pick it apart, but there's 15 of them. All 30 clubs aren't here, which is interesting because it tells you who's digging in and who's not. So, from a perspective standpoint, the guys are in the ballpark are impressive, but they're not 30. It was amazing to me.
Did you say there's Japanese scouts here?
There's guys? Yeah, George Arias is here.
Okay.
And he's scouting for the Yomiuri Giants.
Yeah.
Remember there's George Arias?
Yeah. Oh, third baseman.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, he's here.
So there's certainly a lot of guys I think that that could fill a need for a team overseas, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Across the rosters, that's a yes. There's guys that separate like the Victor kid. And he's going to come out. People are going to be talking about that for a while. That's not one you put away on the shelf. Who somebody's going to make a trade for. The Angels don't move him through the system. Somebody's going to acquire him and bring him to the big leagues. That's real. That's real stuff.
Do you think he's ready for the big leagues based on what you saw?
No, but somebody's going to move him. I mean, it's one inning. Remember the first
one game,
year,
one outing.
Yeah, one year, second year. It takes a minute. Jury's going to be out, pitcher or hitter, but the makings are there. Back end reliever, throw 102. Yeah. I mean, if Matt Bush was a reliever, this guy's better than that. Nothing against Matt Bush, who had a great career as a pitcher after it all said and done, but this guy's better.
So I'm looking here, there's 6 guys that have made the big leagues already from the first round out of that draft. 24, obviously Nick Kurtz being the big one. And then you have Cam Smith, Trey Savage from the Blue Jays, Chase Burns from the Reds, Christian Moore, who was also drafted by the Angels.
Chase Burns, the pitcher, out of Wake.
Yes.
Yeah. Joe Katuska drafted him 2 overall. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very interesting that, and granted, because it's the biggest game, it's almost like the NCAA tournament or a World Cup or an Olympic where a lot of eyes are on you, and to turn in that kind of performance, that was.
And you know what? It starts off 2026 for the city too, right? I mean, and I got to give a lot of credit to the old Houston Sports Authority guard that did this. I know there's many people may or may not know there is a changing of the guard in the Houston Sports Authority at the end of 2024. The groundwork for what you're seeing in 2026 had absolutely, and let me make sure I say this as directly as possible, nothing to do with the new group that's there as far as bringing it here.
No, I mean, these things have to be planned years in advance.
And that includes FIFA, and that includes everything that the city is about to experience this year. And I got to tell you, if you haven't had a chance to get out to any of these type of events that are world, global, real events, go do them. Whether it's this or got to go do it.
Jeremy, I got tickets as a spectator for the Brazil-Italy game, 100 level. I got them on the secondary market for $33 a piece. Now, granted, that is a game with not as much interest as a United States game. But even on Friday, the first United States game, you could get into the park for $15, $20.
$20, yeah, it was inexpensive. I would
Now, Mexico, the United States, Monday night, that's going to be a way different story.
You know, somebody said to me that the United States might be the visitors that night,
Mm.
and they meant like just
Yeah, in
with
terms of
support.
fan support.
Yeah, it's going to be off the roof. Not forget the chain, forget the
Yeah.
starts, off the roof. It's
Yeah.
going to be out of control. And I you know, if you get a chance to go do this, the Old Sports Authority, Jans Burke and Daniel Gotera, who was a former colleague of ours and is a colleague of mine now currently, and that group did a lot to bring this here. And so you get a chance to go out and see it. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, especially for most people, because you don't get to go do this.
And who knows when it's going to come back?
Right. I mean, the Olympics, FIFA, World Cup. There's certain events that over time you have to travel to get to because you got to do them at least once. I've been fortunate that I've done all three of those in different realms. Yes, and the World Cup may surprise people, but growing up in Los Angeles, it hit LA and I saw it. You know what I mean? So it's something that you got to find a way to get to as Houston evolves into an international sports city in full. Go do it.
Another thing that has popped up on the X timeline involving the World Baseball Classic, because that's what this episode of Extra Bases is going to be about, the World Baseball Classic. Jeremy posted, got to catch up with Yankees Major League catching coordinator Tanner Swanson. Told him he'd made me a believer with some caveats about level and pitcher's ability to command. That is the first time I've heard you say that publicly. This makes twice. Great Britain bench coach Connor Brooks was the witness somewhere. Who is smiling? Coach
Donegal Fergus. LMU.
So is this about? This is about one knee catching.
Yeah.
Because I know for a while, Jeremy, one knee catching. Do you like Brussels sprouts?
No.
One knee catching was the equivalent of Brussels sprouts for you.
You know.
So tell us what brought this whole thing on? Looking at the data, was it anecdotal evidence? What has changed your mind about this?
You know, I say let's be clear. It's still caught up. It's still caught up to them last night with Harry Ford. Okay, because he had a ball. He was on one knee, balls in the dirt, didn't get around it properly, and it kicked away from him. And so there's still very much a technique that has to be approached to this. However, we do teach it now over here.
Whoa!
But I'm getting there. But we don't let them use it unless the guy's got some kind of command. And that was what Tanner and I talked about yesterday. Is that I get for grabbing an extra strike here and there in certain situations, certain guy on the mound, fine. But that's at the big league level, and you got to learn that in the minor league level.
Yeah,
you can't do that at high school baseball, amateur baseball, or college baseball.
At age 8, you probably shouldn't be doing it. You
can't do that. He didn't disagree. He was like, no, I totally get it, because those guys have no idea where it's going. And what he didn't say, because, Tanner was a big proponent. He's one of the founders of this theory, was coming up with that. What he did say, or didn't say rather, was that in their system, if a guy doesn't have any command, they don't do it. I'm not putting those words in his mouth, but he didn't disagree with me. And I understand that in the big leagues, if a guy's near it, it may get you a pitch. I get it, but that's the big leagues. And it might work in AAA, and you got to start teaching that in A-ball. But you can't take that into high school and even into college, where guys don't know where it's going and you're losing games and throwing guys out, because those guys have to still cross the threshold. And I promise you, as much as you guys think you know where it's going, you don't. You don't. And so big league guys have to refine it. And if they have to refine it, then you have to refine it even more, because they're already in the big leagues. Say it again. They're in the big leagues, not like minors AA, not like major AAA, not like USSSA. They're in the big leagues. And if they got to work on command and refining stuff in their delivery, then I promise you, little Johnny at 12, 13, 14, and 17 has to as well. So, but again, having those conversations. The guy I consider a friend, he's a really good dude, was able to say, man, hey, you know what? And he looked at me dead in the eye and he goes, it's the first time I've heard you say that publicly, because I said it in front of somebody else. And he laughed, and I was like, all right, he goes, it's not official till you post it. I said, no, I'll post it. He goes, no, you don't have to. I said, I will. And he hit it today. He hit the button today on it. So, but yeah, that's why. He's right. He's right in the big league level. Not in all situations. I still disagree with it with 2 strikes. I still disagree with the guy who doesn't have the ability to command it, but he has proven there are ways to block with it. There are ways to corral it. I still don't think you throw well from there. You have to throw in certain pitches from there. He didn't argue that either, but he's right when it comes to stealing pitches, and that's what it's about. I had to give him credit. I always say when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. In this particular situation and in this narrow box, I was incorrect. He was right.
Do you think the Tony Pena style will come back someday?
Tony Pena and Benito Santiago were so fun to watch when we were kids, you know. But that was two guys. That was it.
Yeah.
There's many more guys like Bob Boone and Pudge Rodriguez and Charles Johnson.
Pretty good.
Yeah, you know, I mean, those were many more guys like that. I mean, even Bob Brenly. Like, you start looking at
Jim Sundberg.
Great example. A lot of guys who just caught the ball routinely through the baseball. A guy I grew up catching, Mike Heath. Remember him?
Yeah.
And that's an odd one for people. Most people don't know who that is. But as growing up watching the A's and then watching those guys grow it, Mike Heath was the guy that I watched one hand catching, one hand behind the back, you know, how he received the baseball. He was just who I studied, just was what it was. So there's a lot more guys that are more efficient that way than what they're teaching now. But Tanner is not wrong. And if you can get away with it in certain situations, especially for guys that aren't as mobile, it works. But only in those boxes.
Yeah. Mike Heath is another interesting. It just shows you how well the Yankees were developing guys, because he was a Yankee prospect. Or some people might say it's how overhyped some of the Yankee prospects have been over the years. But listen,
70s, right?
Yeah, a lot of those guys, even when the Yankees at the big league level were not doing well, they were still drafting and signing guys who were, pretty good. Well, drafted in the second round.
The guys that I was as a kid able to watch catch
14 years in the big leagues.
Yeah, played a long time. Were Mike Heath, Bob Boone, Mike Scioscia, and I want to say it was Brenly in San Francisco.
Okay.
So those are the four that I saw the most of, and then Terry Kennedy in San Diego,
sure.
West Coast kid,
yeah.
right? Then you get to the East Coast, and in the Mets you had Gary Carter, right? And then you had the guy in Atlanta, I forget who that was, and the guy in
Bruce Benedict.
Bruce Benedict, right? And there was a guy in Chicago playing for the Cubs too. And of course, Carlton Fisk with the White Sox.
Yeah.
And then
Jody Davis.
Yes. And
but he was more of a hitter, though, wasn't he?
Well, there was another guy, too, that was a right-handed thrower. It might have been Sundberg, who was in the Cubs by then. Okay. But and the reason why we say those markets, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, is because they were on the stations.
Yes, they had the cable station that they would beam the signal. I mean, I used to watch tons of Atlanta Brave games being in upstate New York, and even obviously the Mets and the Yankees, but I could see a lot of Braves games.
That's right. So, all of those.
Sundberg, you're right. 87 he played with the Cubs.
Yes,
so
Cubs.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and Kennedy
I just think of him as a Ranger.
Didn't Terry Kennedy go there after San Diego? Brenly went to San Diego, right, for San Francisco?
Because I know Terry Kennedy came up with the Cardinals,
I
believe.
But he was in San Diego for the World Series run in '84, and then I think he went to the Cubs after that and finished there.
Nope, he was Baltimore. He was Padres.
Yeah, Padres first.
And then Baltimore.
So he never got to the Cubs?
And then the Giants. Never got to the Cubs.
Okay. In any event.
All right, everybody probably screaming at their computer, no, he didn't play for the Cubs. He didn't play for the Cubs.
Baseball history going down the line, but all those guys did the same things. Big body, little body. You did the same things. And the evolution is, like anything, you get too far ahead and you have to rein it back in, but it has some merits, and Tanner's done a good job.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this special World Baseball Classic edition of Extra Bases, as Jeremy has to get to the ballpark and I have to get ready for another Sports Extra on KHOU 11. Next time we'll focus probably back on the Astros and spring training, although we will be into a much deeper round of the World Baseball Classic. And
the championships are after that.
Yes, they are. So if you have any other WBC questions or anything like that, let us know. Until next time, thanks for watching, everybody.